Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your warm welcome. Dr. Bottoms, thank you for that very, very gracious introduction. You know, made me feel good to hear you go on and on like that, saying all those positive things, but I'm always still a little surprised when I'm introduced pretty much the way I wrote it, so I'm grateful to you. Grateful to you for sticking to the script today, and I've learned to not take kind introductions like the President's for granted. As he mentioned, I was privileged to be elected twice as the chief executive of our state. The first when I was 32 years old, and my wife Susan was only 28 and a half years old, and many people thought I used my high school yearbook picture as my campaign poster. We looked younger than we in fact were, and one of our first obligations, Doctor, was to have a big reception at the governor's residence for a very prominent group of individuals from around the country who'd come to Indiana for a gathering. And we put on an elaborate dinner party for them, and Susan and I stood on the landing greeting the dignitaries as they came in, and along came the group from Tennessee, and I extended my hand in greeting to them, and I said, "Good evening, sir. Welcome to the governor's residence." Well, this individual paused for a moment, and he kind of looked me up one side and down the other, and he proceeded to put his coat over my arm. And he said, "Thank you very much, young man. I'll pick this up when I leave." So what else could I say but, yes, sir, we'll take good care of it. And I'm grateful to you, Doctor. There'll be no cases of mistaken identity today. I love occasions like this. They are inspirational. They are uplifting. There's a touch of melancholy when I think about the passage of time. And I look at these youthful faces and I ask myself, can it really have been 28 years since I was sitting where you're sitting today? And I think about my own two young children and I ask myself, it's going to seem like tomorrow when they're sitting where you're sitting today. Ceremonies like this are really in many ways a metaphor for life and a reminder to all of us to not take that life for granted, but to hold it tight and to cherish each and every moment and those that we love. I've learned a fair amount of humility from occasions like this. It was 10 years ago already. I was asked to give the commencement address to Indiana University, my alma mater. And I spent a lot of time working on that speech because I wanted it to be memorable. I wanted people to take something away from it that they might think about during the course of their lives every so often and think, what he had to say rings true to what I've experienced in my life. So I really put in some time, and the commencement day arrived, and we gathered in the university football stadium. There was a big crowd there, and a number of speakers and things before me. And unfortunately, the day was overcast, not nearly as lovely as today, and the storm clouds began to gather, and the wind began to blow, and there were flashes of lightning in the distance. And finally, after I'd said a few jokes and talked for about 4 or 5 minutes only, at the beginning of my remarks, the heavens opened up, and the rain began coming down, and I turned to Miles Brand, the president of IU at that time. I told the audience, and I said, well, for safety's sake, I think we better adjourn these proceedings, but for those of you who are really interested, you can call my office and get a transcript of the rest of what I intended to say. Well, you know what? I had more people tell me after that speech that was the best speech I ever gave. It was short, concise, to the point, so I am well aware that brevity is part of my mission here today, and I don't intend to forget that lesson, so I will get on with it. Let me thank Dr. Yu and all those at DePauw. Those of you who are graduating today are graduating from a great institution of higher learning. One of the greatest not only in the state of Indiana, but one of the greatest in the United States of America. You are fortunate in that fact. And I'm confident that your time here at DePauw has prepared you to do not only well in the years that lie ahead, in a world that is demanding a higher level of knowledge and intelligence to prosper economically, but also to do some good with your life. And to understand that your own well-being is going to be defined by a whole lot more than just your narrow self-interest. This is the kind of institution that I'm confident has instilled that in you. I wish we could instill that sense in more Americans today. I too would like to recognize the parents here. This is a joyous occasion for you, a time for celebration. For those of you who've been writing the tuition checks, maybe a time for some relief, but that's okay too. It's been worth every penny that you've invested in these young people. And to the graduates, I would say, I think you'll find in the course of your life that it really is a team sport, that you won't accomplish anything that is truly worthwhile only by yourselves. But it will be those who lift you up when the going gets tough and sustain you through those difficult periods. It will be those who will exalt with you in times of triumph and success that will make it all worthwhile, all worth remembering, that will make it all possible. You've been blessed by those who have done that for you, and I would ask that when you too are parents one day, that you pass that sense of unconditional love and support on to those who you will be nurturing and raising one day, because we have too many kids across our state and country who are missing that. And it leads to problems with their own self-image and their own self-worth and their own self-esteem, and leads to difficulties in their lives. Our children deserve better from us than that. You've been blessed to have better than that, and I would encourage you to pass that on. I'd like to thank the faculty here today. Many of us have been blessed to be touched by great educators during the course of our lives. I know that I was. Individuals who inspired us and opened up the doors of learning, the joy of learning, the pursuit of knowledge, the quest for wisdom. I've often thought that while those in my chosen line of work, we may write the laws, those of you who are educators, you're custodians of our future. And I think here at DePauw University, the future of our country is in good hands indeed. So I'd like to thank the faculty here today. And most importantly, I'd like to thank and recognize our graduates. This is your day. It is a time for celebration, and I want to congratulate you. You've worked hard and you've achieved much. But it's also an important transition for you. It's a watershed in your life. And so perhaps for just a few moments, it's appropriate to reflect not only on the joys and the celebration and all of that, but perhaps also on the challenges and the responsibilities that lie ahead, because I believe when you look back on your life someday, it will be how you met those challenges, how you fulfilled those responsibilities that will define your life and will help to define this country. So it is to that I would like to speak this day. I would like to speak to you about this great place that we call America. What makes it special? What makes it precious? What makes it great? And what together we must do in the context of our own time to keep it that way.